Welcome to part 5 of the 2018 NFL Draft in Review. Today we will be looking at the 2018 Pittsburgh Steelers draft class, beginning with number 28 pick, safety Terrell Edmunds. And as we see here on the stat sheet, this pretty well backs up what I expected initially of Terrell Edmunds. He's a pretty good tackling safety, but he doesn't really offer a ton more than that in terms of overall pass deflections, interceptions. Hasn't done particularly well returning the ball, as we see return yards, a total of 26 yards on his last 4 interceptions. So we'll now go over here and take a bit of a look at one of the Steelers' defensive starters. Just off the rush, Broncos haven't really been doing that well at offensive line protection of the quarterback for a while. Really nice interception there. Even against the Jaguars, that's a nice play. Good job of getting the ball out and preventing the catch. Good tackle, even if it had been a catch. Let's go back on that one. This is a pretty good deflection, but I think that could have been picked off. Bad pass by Ryan Tannehill. Yeah, that's one of those balls, if you don't catch that, then you're not a defensive starter. It's another, let's see here, just another miss by Tannehill. That should have been to 84 right there. Honestly, the receiver could have caught that too. Just a bad throw right there. Another one of those pretty simple ones, and honestly, I don't know how you drop that. Yeah, the receiver starts to get away, but you've got to bring that in. Overall, Terrell Edmunds, he's been a pretty good piece for the Steelers to have. It's kind of tough for me to say that this probably turned into one of the best picks in this class, because I originally kind of saw this guy playing linebacker more than playing safety, but it worked out. It just, I don't really believe, is what Pittsburgh needed in the moment. Next up, we have wide receiver James Washington, the 60th overall pick, and really, this is another one of those players that I'm really deeply surprised that he wasn't able to flourish more than he did, because Pittsburgh is, even with their tendency to produce absolute head cases since Hines Ward retired, they've been very good at just routinely pulling receiver after receiver. And with how how Antonio Brown turned out, James Washington had a really prime chance to step up and be something, but it just didn't materialize, and now it honestly kind of looks like he's more or less on the way out of the league, as he went from a Steelers unit where he couldn't emerge with to a Cowboys unit where he has virtually no chance of doing anything. But we'll go over here now and take a look at what he was able to do. If he could have done more of that, he would have had more of a career. Bailing out these quarterbacks that aren't Big Ben, and like I say, it's like just if he could have done more of this, then he would have had so much more of a career and would probably be in a better place career-wise than he is right now. I would say that it would probably, I think it comes down to whether or not a team that isn't heavy on receivers would pick him up and give him a real shot, but I would say at this point it might be a little too late for that. So he had some good moments in Pittsburgh, but he just didn't have staying power for whatever reason. Quarterback Mason Rudolph, the 76th pick of the third round. And this is one of my bigger whiffs because I was absolutely furious the Patriots didn't select this guy. I liked what I saw of him in college. I didn't really see why he wasn't a first-round pick, but since he's been in the NFL, I see why he was a third-round pick, and honestly, I would say it's kind of surprising he went that early. But that being said, I'm still a bit curious to see whether or not Mason Rudolph is just an absolute dud of a player, or if he's just one of those guys that wrong scheme, wrong fit. Because, let's be perfectly honest, it's not like the Steelers' offense has been any good pretty much since this draft class. They tried to, in my eyes, they really tried to go offense, ended up with a defensive team with no offense, and yeah, we see the Steelers where they are now, a team that is honestly calling the validity of the NFL into question because they're somehow not putting losing records up. But we'll look at Mason Rudolph in 2019 when he started a good chunk of games.
Here's Rudolph, who got it back from Connor. It is Smith-Schuster who makes the catch.
What a catch. Oh, my.
Steelers must get to the 40 for a first down. Rudolph throws.
That wasn't the best pass,
Steelers
I think,
able to pick up the first. Deontay Johnson makes
but
the
like
play.
the Seahawks are very good at this point.
Rudolph on first and goal. Finds McDonald.
He's a little jumpy.
Touchdown.
They usually won't make an absolutely horrific decision in that sort of situation. But just doesn't have enough of these games where he can really show what he can do.
Rudolph on the move, a strike to
That's a pretty good pass.
And there he goes.
Put it right where it needed to be. Receiver did the rest.
76 yards. No flags. Penalty worth 32 yards. Rudolph now going deep this side. He has a man open and he's got him for the touchdown. Deontay Johnson.
The thing you don't see, though, in this is some of the mistakes. And, well, he doesn't make a lot of them, but there's just enough that it, I think, really keeps him out of real contention in terms of being an NFL starter. He doesn't have a particularly bad starting record. Positive touchdown to interception ratio, even though it's close. But then you just see things like bad QBR, does get sacked a reasonable amount, and I don't know about his running, but yeah, 5 fumbles in a total of 17 games. Not the worst, not the best. I think that he's going to end up being a quality backup overall. Maybe we'll see him start a few more games through his career at other places. We'll see how he does. But I think that his window to become an NFL starter was pretty much this initial 5-year stretch with the Steelers. He wasn't able to do it. They drafted another quarterback. He was the third string to Mitch Trubisky and a rookie Kenny Pickett, from what I could tell for most of the season. It's unfortunate, but that's how it goes. Offensive tackle Chukwuma Okorafor was probably the second best selection of this draft class, even when you consider how the Steelers' offensive line has been absolutely abysmal in run blocking and hasn't been much better at protecting their quarterbacks. You know, I believe Pickett got his bell rung a few times this year. I don't know if Trubisky got hurt, but I think he did at some point. So like I said, it's Okorafor's the best tackle probably on the team at the moment, but that ain't really saying much. So we'll just take a look and just confirm one of those. To get Max Crosby.
Deontay Johnson, a 41-yarder down the sideline.
Spin move. Crosby
airs it out. Catch made. Chase Claypool. Bears rushing for. Roethlisberger throws, little back shoulder, and
very good. Stayed with those spin moves. Von Miller. He does a good job of keeping Miller on the outside looking in. Doesn't get mixed up by that.
First down from the 30. Roethlisberger with protection. You can see the safeties deep here. He gets a little bit flat. I think that's Xavier Woods, and they get the ball in right behind him.
They spent their top 2 picks on pass rushers with these kinds of situations. Roethlisberger steps up. Roethlisberger letting it slide at the 40-yard line.
Some of this, you could also see the Steelers' other problem for their hype at running back. They really have not had a guy that knows how to hit easy holes since Le'Veon. Najee Harris does a good job. I'm not saying that Najee Harris doesn't do a good job, but the overall thing is that Le'Veon was the last special runner that this team had. And so basically, that just shows what I was saying, is that Okorafor, he does pretty good with doing whatever they assign him to block, but there are those moments where he does have some consistency issues. I've heard that there's been some times where he'll just shut down Von Miller, but get beaten by someone significantly worse. And that pretty much concludes the players that we're going to take a really close look at, because after this, there's really nothing here. You have the 148th pick, Marcus Allen. I believe he has since been moved to one of the linebacker positions. He's a backup. They somewhat seem to be interested in keeping him there. But the one player that I've seen this guy on just shows that this is another one of those players in the Steelers organization that shows the flaws in the coaching. The coaching has long failed to establish any sort of discipline within the Pittsburgh Steelers, and thus you have Marcus Allen, one of the stupidest fucking penalties of all time, going over to the Panthers huddle to talk shit or something on them. It's not really, as far as I know, in the rule book. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's one of those things that it shouldn't have to be a rule. Don't be that fucking stupid. So, backup material. Gonna stay that way. Nothing to see there. Running back Jalen Samuels. He may made a couple of plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers very early in his career. Not enough to really justify keeping him around, not enough to, get him a spot after he left. He's now, I believe, a free agent that no one really seems to want. And there we see, like I said, not a very good yards per carry, not a particularly huge threat in the passing game. He only scored something like 5 touchdowns through his career so far. You see a lot of these players, sometimes they get their moment. He got his moment, failed to grasp it. So he's out of the league at the moment. I'm kind of surprised with the amount of spring leagues going on that he isn't one of them right now. But just kind of a flunky pick. I believe he actually played tight end in college, which is what really threw me in putting him a running back. I'm not really the biggest fan of changing a player's position unless it absolutely makes sense. That one, it really didn't. And that brings us to pick 246, defensive tackle Joshua Frazier. And he's never been past the practice squad, aside from in the AAF, which is one of those. That makes you a player who got scammed, buddy. So, I don't really know what's going on here. He's now in the, I believe, the XFL. Oh, yeah. That's weird. Yeah, he's now somewhat in the XFL, but I believe he was released. So that's kind of unfortunate, getting released in a minor professional football league before the season ever starts. So he'll probably go back into a very early retirement. So that'll be the end of this class. And my overall thoughts, I originally gave this a B+. I'd probably bring that down to about a C+ now. 3 players that didn't really contribute anything. A botched quarterback pick, a receiver that really never emerged, and then you have a starting safety and a starting tackle who's probably considered by most to be towards the bottom end of the league in terms of the starters at that position. So you've got 2 contributors out of 7 players. I would say at least one more of these players isn't going to be on the team next season. Rudolph, as far as I know, has said he doesn't want to come back to the Steelers, and I can't blame him. So, like I said, yeah, I would downgrade this class. This is a very good look at why the Steelers have gone from contending for a Super Bowl, though I will take that with a grain of salt because they have never been better than the 3rd wheel in the AFC since 2010. Ever since then, they have been basically the backup bitch to the Patriots and a collection of other teams. The Broncos when Peyton Manning was there, the Colts for a brief moment when Andrew Luck was healthy, the Jaguars in 2017. They were contending, but they were not contending, and this is why they have collapsed from that standpoint to now the 3rd wheel of their own division, and soon to be 4th if the Browns can get their shit together. And I don't really think that anything's going to change, as the Steelers are stuck in this mindset that if you change anything in the coaching and management of this franchise, that you're somehow rocking the boat too much. When the Steelers are going through such a period of stagnation, and it's so clear who the fault is, that it's well past time to rock the boat. Why are you going to continue letting this coaching staff run on a Super Bowl that the Arizona Cardinals gift wrapped you? It doesn't make sense to me. They should probably be worse than they are, and that's where, yes, the coaching isn't terrible, but it's vastly overrated for getting a .500 record out of a roster that should probably be at least contesting the Bengals and Ravens for the AFC North. I'm not saying they should be contesting the Bengals and Chiefs for the AFC, but, they should at least be something of a dark horse candidate still, instead of a fringe wild card that everyone knows will get blown out in the first round if they make it in. So, like I said, it's disappointing to see if you're somebody who doesn't dislike the Steelers. For me, a longtime Patriots fan and somebody who deeply despises the Steelers, well, to me, this is just, maybe this will humble them in the long run. So, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, hit the notification bell, and I will see you tomorrow for the, let's see here, NFL season, and I will see you tomorrow for the 2018 Baltimore Ravens draft, in which you'll pretty much get to laugh at me for not seeing the monster that Lamar became, though I will still defend that position because I don't see him as worth no $200 million.